guys, welcome back to another one. We've been getting a lot of requests for us to do some 16 gauge long range high performance pheasant loads. So that's what we're doing here. This is going to be a 1 1/4 ounce load at 1325 FPS, 16 gauge 2 3/4 inch obviously. Yeah, this is actually my favorite lead birdshot load for 16 gauge. Payload weight anyway, 1.25 ounces. Yeah, it's a good one. You guys have heard me say this a million times by now, but Federal, I believe, was the last company to offer a 1.25 ounce 16 gauge load, and that wasn't even that long ago, within the last 5-6 years, probably even shorter than that actually. But yeah, they don't offer it anymore, which is sad. I know Kent was also offering a 1 1/4 ounce 16 gauge load recently too. It looks like they no longer offer it either. Remington was loading it, they don't offer it anymore. I'm not sure about Winchester in modern times, but Winchester did in the past, like decades ago. They offered it too, but again, not anymore. But for a long time, 1.25 ounce 16 gauge was a standard load, even up till recent times, and it's a very good one. The components I'm using today are very simple, straightforward, nothing's hard to get, aside from maybe the Rio hulls. Rio, for whatever reason, they aren't offering hulls anymore in the USA. You can still get them if you live across the pond in Europe, but here in America, these in any gauge besides 12 are hard to come by. So you can use a Shadot hull here, and probably a Fiocchi too. There is data for a 1 1/4 ounce load just like this one, same components, using a Shadot hull with 1 grain less powder, and I believe it was running 1275 FPS at 10,000 PSI. This one is 1.25 ounces at 1325. The PSI is 10,310, and again 1325 FPS, so very similar loads. This one, however, that I'm showing you here in a second, is extremely close to the 1.25 ounce 12 gauge load at 1330. The only difference is this is 16 gauge and it's running 5 FPS slower. So, as Paul Harrell says, that's not enough difference to make a difference. If you load this load right here, you're shooting basically on par with the people carrying 12s. If they're running the same load as this. Using that little gunpowder, you can severely outdo the people that's carrying 12s. But I know a lot of people, they carry a 16 gauge because they want a little bit lighter gun with a little bit lighter payload that may produce a little bit less recoil. But for me, I carry a 16 gauge because I like them a lot. That's what I grew up shooting. I grew up shooting a Browning A5 or Auto 5 Sweet 16. Had the gold trigger and all. I love that gun. I have a TriStar Viper G2 and a Remington 1148, which is a sort of update version of the Browning Auto 5, as well as several 16 gauge single shots. But guys, what do you say we actually jump into this? I know I've rambled quite a bit, but I like 16 gauge and I like talking about it and the loads you can do with it. But yeah, Rio hull, you can also use a Shadot here. We're using long shot powder. Now this wad right here, to ramble just a little bit more, this wad is the Z16, I believe, Field Commander. Now, I got these from Ballistic Products. You can also get them from Precision Reloading and I think Graphs, but when I first started reloading, I started with 16 gauge because the shells were $2 to $3 more expensive than 12 gauge. That is not the case anymore. 16 gauge is quite pricey now, as everything is. But yeah, this is the wad that I started with in blue Shadot hulls and green dot powder. So this wad has a special place in my heart, if you will. That being said, I don't think I've ever showed you guys me using this wad before. But anyway, let's start loading this. We need 25 grains of long shot, 25 even. And again, that will get you 1325 FPS and 10,310 PSI. This is Ballistic Products load data. Should be 25 right here. Says 25. Double check it as always, and yep, we have 25 grains. The Z16 wad, that is for straight wall hulls. Plenty of capacity here. This holds, I think it's 1 ounce of lead in the shot cup, and it's intended for 1 1/8 ounce loads, but 1.25 ounces is the max you can do. If you load down to 22, 23 grains of long shot, you can actually get 1 3/8 ounces with this wad and still fold crimp it, which is awesome. I've put together so many of these over the last 4 years that I know you have to compress that wad a little bit. to get a nice even crimp on it. If you don't compress it, well, the crimp's a little bit flat and you have to put more pressure, more crimp pressure on it, and sometimes with these thin hulls like this you can actually crush them, which is what you don't want. If you're loading ounce and 3/8, you have to compress the wad quite a bit, but if you just want to load ounce and a quarter, just a little bit of compression will do just fine. Since this is a pheasant load, we're going to use some premium shot here. This is copper plated number 6 shot from Precision Reloading. I got it on sale to load some 2 7/8 inch 10 gauge about a year ago now, I want to say, maybe 8 months. But yeah, this is some really good shot, guys. Okay, we have our 1 1/4 ounces of copper plated number 6 shot. That is 548 grains. We are going to go with a 6-point crimp on this, which is the front station of the reload hull. Fairly simple to do. We have our pre-crimp, looks great. Let's final crimp that. Oh yeah, it's looking great. Alright, how about that right there? Pretty deep set, perfectly uniform, no pinhole, nothing. That right there is a great looking shell, guys. If you're regular watchers of our channel, you may have seen the 10 gauge 2 1/2 ounce lead shot load we did. Well, at the end of that, we were shooting clays with the TriStar and the Remington 1148 16 gauge. This is the load we were using to shoot clays with to help break that gun in. We shot a whole bunch of these as well as some 1 1/2 ounce loads, but yeah, this is what we used to break the TriStar in, and it worked wonders. If you want to know the proper choke for this load for, yardage, well, 25 to 30 yards, modified choke, 35 to 40 yards, use improved modified or light full, 40 to 45, maybe even 50. Use a full choke or extra full, and that will get the job done on pheasants. And extra full or full inside 40 yards on turkey, this will certainly do it. You can add buffer to this. The PSI is still low enough to where you can add a little bit of buffer to help tighten up patterns just a little bit. I tell you what, guys, if we ever decide to film a turkey hunt, this is 95% the most likely load I will use to get a turkey with. I just want to do it with a plain 1 1/4 ounce 16 gauge load. That would be my choice. If for some reason you need more velocity than this, well, you can use a little gunpowder, but you got to use quite a bit more powder of this than you do long shot, upwards of 40 grains. But that'll get you past 1400 FPS, still within safe pressures. We may do that in a future video, but for now, I just wanted to keep it simple, using a powder that I know most people have. Long shot has been consistently available ever since the world went to heck in a handbasket a few years ago, if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, long shot's readily available anywhere, and it's not that pricey. The Z16 Field Commander wad has been consistently available for, well, all throughout this mess. But yeah, the only thing that's kind of hard to get is the Rio hulls. I actually found these locally at Steve's Guns in Ashland, Kentucky, so I got a bag of them. That was a pretty lucky find, I think. But again, you can just use a Shadowed or Fiocchi instead. They're all about the same internally. Euro hull, straight wall, thin. Yeah, they're all about the same. That being said, if you want to put this load in a Shadowed or Fiocchi, start at 23 grains and work your way up to 25 and just look for pressure signs. But anyway, guys, I think that'll do it for this one. Please like and subscribe. We always appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below and we'll get back to you. And if you want to, go check out our Patreon. It's as low as $1 a month and you guys get early access to content. A link to that, as well as a link to our Instagram and Rumble accounts, will be in the description below. But other than that, you guys take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.